Hey guys, I'm Steff and welcome back to my beauty stash. Today we are going to be duping the brand new Natasha Denona ZENDO eyeshadow palette. I am sure you guys have seen this palette making the rounds already here on YouTube and of course on Instagram, and with good reason. This is what the palette looks like. Let me hold it up close so you can get a better look at it. You do get 15, I believe they are pressed pigments. I do not believe we are calling them eyeshadows. So they are pressed pigments and this retails for $65. You have a mixture of mattes, shimmers, and the cream to powder formula. Now, what do we think about the color story? Well, I think the color story is very beautiful, but have we seen this color story before? Absolutely. This is definitely a nice neutral palette with the pop of blue/green in it. So it's not a unique color story by any means. And I'm sure if you look really closely in your stash, you could probably duplicate all of these shades that are in this new ZENDO palette from Natasha Denona. So today what we're going to be doing is duping the Natasha Denona ZENDO palette using a recent purchase for me and also a new release, because I want to say this palette that I'm going to be using from the drugstore came out about 3 weeks ago, and I did pick it up from Ulta Beauty online. Now, I swatched both palettes already. I even swatched them next to each other so that you can see the similarities in the shades. So I'll definitely be showing you those photos after I get done creating the look. But I could not believe how well the drugstore swatched. I mean, we're talking buttery, smooth, creamy, matte shades. They were just swatching fantastic. So were the shimmers in that particular palette, and so did the Natasha Denona ZENDO palette. So I have a feeling that this drugstore palette is not just a dupe shade-wise, it's also a dupe formula-wise, if not a spot on, a very close second place. So I'm a little blown away right now, and I hope you guys like this dupe that I'm going to be sharing with you. What we're going to do is I'm going to be creating an eye look, and I'm going to use the drugstore palette on one eye and the Natasha Denona ZENDO palette on another eye. You're not going to know which one is which, but I'm gonna create the exact same look using these two palettes. One of the palettes cost $15 and the new Natasha Denona costs $65. So I'm gonna let you be the judge once I get done creating today's look, and I'm also going to give you guys some other comparisons of palettes that are really similar in color story to the Natasha Denona ZENDO palette, palettes that you probably already have in your stash, because these other palettes I'm going to share with you, they are not new palettes by any means. I really feel like this color story is taking me back to 2018. What do you guys think? All right, guys, if you want to see my, I think, really great dupe for the new Natasha Denona ZENDO palette, keep on watching. Alright guys, so these are the two completed looks using one new drugstore palette and the new Natasha Denona ZENDO palette. What side do you think is high-end and what side do you think is drugstore? Or what side do you just like better? Okay, so now the moment of truth. If you guessed that this side was drugstore, then you would be correct. I used the new LA Girl Hey Hey Vacay eyeshadow palette to create this look right here. And on the left eye, I used the new Natasha Denona ZENDO palette. Let me hold up these two palettes so you can see how similar they are. Now, I know I don't have an identical look on both eyes, but you gotta admit, it's really, really close. What do you guys think? $15, $65. Not bad. Not bad, right guys? Let me go ahead and insert the swatches that I did of both palettes individually and then swatched together as best as I could, match up the shades that I felt best corresponded within each palette. So what do you think, guys? Is it a dupe or not? I have to say that I was shocked with this palette. I picked it up from Ulta Beauty on Sunday. No, yeah, it was on Sunday. And I bought it for the purpose of it hoping to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona ZENDO palette, because this palette was released about a month ago or 3 weeks ago, and I almost picked it up. And there was also another palette that LA Girl released, and it was a brown and green tone palette. This one was the one, of course, that was catching my eye more. But I didn't pick it up then, and I'm sorry I didn't, because this is a fabulous palette. It swatches amazing, and the shades are so buttery and creamy, especially when swatching them. I was a little taken aback by the swatches, and I knew I had something special on my hands with this. And when swatching the Natasha Denona ZENDO palette today, I was like, oh no, like these are really, really similar, not just in shades, but in formula as well. As you can see here, you have 16 different shades. Again, a mixture of matte and shimmers. I don't believe there's any cream to powder in this palette. And there's also no pressed glitters in any of the palettes. But there are some slight shades that are a little bit different. Like there's not a shade like these two in the Natasha Denona palette. And of course, some of the blues and greens, they do vary a little bit in tone. You can see that the look I created on this eye definitely has a little bit more sparkle when compared to the left eye with the Natasha Denona ZENDO palette, but by no means is one look superior to the other. I mean, I would be happy wearing both of these looks, and I guarantee you guys, if I went out right now, nobody would be able to tell that I had two different looks going on and two different palettes, one of them being $15. So this is a great find in LA Girl. I think LA Girl has just been improving and improving upon an already good formula. And I'm going to be curious to check out the other palette that was released alongside this one, because this one is pretty good. This is the second time that I dip into it. And if you watched my video from yesterday, which was the Tarte Hydroflex Foundation, the makeup look that I have on day 2 was using this palette, and I didn't put that information in the description box just because I wanted to keep it a secret until I debuted it here on my Natasha Denona dupe video. So Great palette. It retails for $15, and I think right now LA Girl is buy two, get one free at Ulta, so even better. I mean, there's so many great things that I love about LA Girl, and I just want to shout this out really quick. I am wearing the LA Girl Pro Coverage HD foundation, and I have the shade Fair, but I think it's a little too dark right now. I'm still working on my tan, guys, so this will be a perfect shade match in a couple weeks, but yeah, this is the foundation that I am wearing today. Now let's talk about the Zendo palette. Guys, this is a beautiful palette and it does perform really well. I had no problems with the shades. Maybe this shade right here, I feel like this is the cream to powder shade, so it was a little bit difficult for me to kind of blend it out. I've always had a little bit of difficulty with those shades. I don't know why. And at the end of the day, guys, I like the way both looks came out, and I really do like this palette. But like I said earlier, this is not a unique color story. You definitely have these shades already in some of your other palettes. And let's go through some of those other palettes you might have in your stash. Now, when I was working on this side and even looking at myself in the mirror, this looks very similar to the new or the latest Urban Decay Wild West palette. Let me hold this one up, and you might have gotten this one when it came out. This is what the color story of this palette looks like. And let me hold it up alongside the Natasha Denona. And you can definitely see there are some similarities there, especially with the blues and like the orangey and gold shades and stuff. Really, really similar. Now, another palette you might have in your stash, and this is a smaller palette. This is from Alamar Cosmetics. This is the Reina del Caribe palette. I love this palette. This is a beautiful eyeshadow palette, and I think I got this in a BoxyCharm a while back. But let me hold these up, and you can definitely see the similarities between the two. This is a really good palette. If you have the opportunity to pick this one up, you won't regret it. It's a really good formula, really pigmented. Now, another palette that popped into my head when I was actually using the LA Girl palette earlier today was this one from Violet Voss. This is the Flamingo palette, and I love this palette. I just love flamingos in general, but I've always had a good experience using this eyeshadow palette. It has like a really big mirror on the opposite side, but these shades, guys, are also very similar to what you get in the Natasha Denona palette. Now, this one has some more bright shades, but you still have like those reds and peach shades, a little bit of the green, blue, the gold in there. So super similar. I know that I can create an almost identical look with this palette as to the one I could create with the Zendo palette. And I have two other palettes to share with you. I pulled the Jeffree Star Thirsty palette also because, you know, it has these warm toned peach and pink and gold, and then the blue shades at the bottom, also with the browns over here on the end. And so let me hold it right here with the Natasha Denona so you can also see the similarities here as well. Now, I don't know if they are still making this Thirsty palette. This was always one of my favorites from Jeffree Star. I just really enjoyed the color story and the performance of this palette. Again, I don't think that they make it anymore, but if they do, I will have it linked in the description box. But I definitely consider picking this one up because this was a really good palette, nice palette to work with and to have in your stash. And then last but not least, another drugstore option right here in e.l.f. Now, also, I don't know if this palette is still around, but some of you might have picked it up last year. This is the e.l.f. Retro Paradise palette. Again, those warm tone shades, the peach and pinks and reds, and then, of course, the blues and greens in there. And let me hold it up with the Natasha Denona. So you can see what I'm saying by this not being a new color story. We definitely have these shades already. If we look really closely in our collection, as you can see from the two looks that I created, they're not spot on, but they're pretty close. And I guarantee you, like I said earlier, if I was to walk out the door right now, nobody would be able to tell I had on 2 different eye looks, much less using 2 different eyeshadow palettes. So guys, that wraps up today's Natasha Denona Zendo Palette dupe video. I also wanted to show you, I forgot to do this and I meant to do this earlier. The mini Zendo was actually the first palette released, and this is what the mini Zendo looks like. This was released almost a year ago, maybe about 9 months ago, and I really enjoyed working with this, but I don't really think that these go together. What do you guys think? Maybe a little bit, but when I saw this color story, I didn't even think about this palette for some reason. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong there, but I just don't see how this kind of fits in with the big sister, but oh well, I'm happy I have both. So now I want to hear from you guys. What did you think of the looks? What did you think of my dupes, my alternatives? Have you already ordered this Zendo palette, or are you waiting? Are you gonna pass? Sound off below and let me know, guys. Let me know what you thought about this LA Girl Hey Hey Vacay. I love the name. Hey Hey Vacay eyeshadow palette. Again, I picked this up from Ulta Beauty. I did the curbside pickup and I picked it up on Sunday and it retails for $15. But right now, LA Girl is buy 2, get 1 free on the Ulta Beauty website. So a great deal on a great eyeshadow palette. I want to thank you guys so much for watching another one of my videos. You all have a great day or night, wherever it is you all are at. Stay hydrated, guys. Drink your water. Cheers. And I will see you all very soon. Bye.